And the time is 7:15, and I just made it to the press room where I found Cleopatra Tao. Good morning, Cleo.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Well, doing great.
Yay.
Great. We also have columnist oil and gas of the Vanguard newspaper, Sunny Atumah, who is here. Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning, Stanley.
All right, Cleo.
Okay.
What is happening?
Well, good stuff, actually. Now, from the Punch newspaper, we have the story. We have traced 47.2 billion naira and $487.5 million in cash and properties tied to Diezani, says the EFCC. This day newspaper says that INEC seeks more power to reject candidates. Pretty interesting one. The Guardian newspaper also says something pretty cool. It says local contractors excluded from $20 billion rail project. And the Daily Trust says the federal government is urging to privatize airports. Plenty more stories coming up after this.
Well, the first story we're tackling today is coming from The Guardian. Local contractors excluded from $20 billion rail project.
Yeah, when I saw the story, I just thought about you. I knew you were going to talk about it.
You know I like these stories. Right?
So the federal government is breaching its own local contact policy in the construction of over $20 billion rail tracks across the country as indigenous firms are being excluded from the execution of the project. If the extort policy, which provides that 40% of such projects should be executed by local contractors, is followed, Nigeria should retain about $8 billion in its coffers and address the unemployment and other social challenges. That $8 billion, equivalent to 2.416 trillion naira, is about one-third of Nigeria's 2017 national budget and can also fund the entire Lagos-Kano standard gauge railway project, estimated at $8.3 billion.
Now, we always talk about local content in Nigeria, especially as it applies to people who provide services within the country. So what sort of impact do you think this would have, Sunny?
You see, it has got a lot to do in our system. If we have about $20 billion, you are bringing in foreigners to do all the work. One, we are losing, apart from the revenue, what will come to companies. We're talking about skills. Our people, what will they get out of this in terms of skills? We won't continue to ask Chinese to build our railways. We must involve our people. So when they are involved, they gain in technology. I think that one is key. And of course, too, the revenue aspect of it, that when local contractors are involved in so many aspects. For instance, you talk about the track, and you are saying that our people will not be involved. You go and bring in all sorts of technicians from China to come and do the job. I see it regularly. It's a regular occurrence in our construction here in roads.
But one of the arguments against local contractors is that they do not provide the same kind of quality. And even though you have local workmen who are actually doing the job, that because of the supervision at the highest level, it's not really the same with when you have a foreign contractor handling it.
Stanley, we are talking about collaboration, not just them. The contract, for instance, awarded to a Chinese firm, you match the Chinese with Nigerians. That is what we're talking about. They learn. They must learn. We won't continue to rely on these people, foreigners, to do the jobs for us. Let our people be involved in whatever way. I mean, if I am doing a particular job and you said, look, for this, these are Nigerian engineers, for instance. Yes, these Nigerian engineers, be with these people, understudy them. That is how it is done. Everywhere, even the Chinese.
So the biggest target should be a transfer of technology.
Yeah, well, if we say so, we will talk about transfer of technology. I don't think
it's a critical aspect of
yes, I don't think it is normally so. When that phrase, transfer of technology, I say no. Understudy, learn and then do it yourself later. If you say they will transfer, they will not be ready to transfer.
Certainly, yeah. In fact, very often technology is stolen.
Yes. That is what we are
And the Chinese are good at it.
Yes, they will not be ready to say we will transfer technology, because if they do that, then where is their job?
Good question. Well, we've just been joined by a reporter from the New Telegraph, Philip Nyam. Philip, good morning. Glad that you could join us.
Good morning. Thank you.
And we'll move on to the next story. This one is coming from The Punch. We've traced 47.2 billion naira, $487 million in cash and properties to Diezani Alison-Madueke, former Minister of Petroleum Resources. This is according to the EFCC.
Yeah, well, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it has so far, through painstaking investigation by its operatives, traced 47.2 billion naira and $487 million in cash and properties to the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Diezani Alison-Madueke. Now, this, according to the anti-graft agency, were apart from the boxes of gold, silver, diamond jewelry, which was worth millions of British pounds sterling, discovered during a search in her residence in Abuja. Now, the EFCC says it discovered several of her landed properties also scattered around Lagos and other parts of the country in the course of its investigation, adding that it was also doubtful if the former minister declared her true assets as required of a public official.
Now, Philip, have you seen the exhaustive list of properties that the EFCC is talking about here? Pretty long, quite a number of properties, and they talk about trinkets, ornaments, and all of that in addition to cash. And this is in an attempt to discredit the allegations that Diezani Alison-Madueke is making against the EFCC, saying that she's being persecuted. But the thing is, there are people who are rather disturbed and saying that the EFCC is making too much information public, and if they're unable to secure a conviction here, then it could be a major problem for the anti-corruption war. What do you feel about that?
The issue of Diezani, we know very well that it's not just in Nigeria. She's been investigated outside the country too. And as for EFCC, you know very well that there have been these stories because there was a change in government, from another political party to another. So the issues of witch hunt, are always there in the public domain. So the EFCC has to come out openly to tell people, look, this is what we have found, so that people will stop doubting what the EFCC is saying. And the question is, if the former petroleum minister, Mrs. Diezani Alison-Madueke, if she feels that she doesn't have a case, why has she run away from the country?
Well, she says she's undergoing treatment for cancer.
The issue is that these issues are in court.
And so far, the EFCC, at least not to our knowledge, the EFCC has not tried to extradite her, get her back into the country to face trial.
So everything is still under investigation.
Well, if she's receiving treatment, I learned from cancer or something like that, then it means that she may have been bedridden, definitely. So you will not be pushing to extradite.
Barely been seen in public.
Yeah, you will not be pushing to extradite such a person. But I expect that she will go to court. Like 2 days ago, we learned some of the properties were ordered to be seized, by a court of law. So if she doesn't have anything, any skeleton in her cupboard, she will come back and go to court so that she will reclaim her properties.
Sonny, it's rather curious that the former minister did not show up, even though several courts have given notices and said on such and such a date, if you own these properties, come and stake claim.
Well, it's unfortunate, Stanley, that the issue of Diezani Alison-Madueke has become a sing-along with the EFCC. Now, if it's the case that they have got all this, we have collaboration with whatever government, wherever she is residing at present. So, don't we have what it takes to say, look, this is this. If she's sick or she's undergoing medical treatment, the court, they should charge her to court and let the court determine that.
In her absence?
Yeah, no, of course. We have, I am saying, since we have collaboration, if it's in the UK, for instance, yes, cases can be filed, in court here. And with the collaboration we have with the UK, whatever that can be done, can be done. Instead of today, we talk about several millions of dollars, tomorrow, trinkets, jewelry, and all that. I think we should do a little more than what we are doing. I mean, the EFCC, rather than, giving us all these kind of cases of Diezani Alison-Madueke and funds allegedly stolen. They can do more. And the EFCC, I believe, should do more. They know what to do. Yes. Let the High come and face justice. It's either here or even in the UK.
It's inevitable to think about all of the things that these monies can do. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars and millions of naira. And some people are putting the government to task on this and saying that, okay, how come we've recovered all of this? Is the money going to be stashed in the central bank and sit there pending when a trial would be over, which could take forever? Or is the money going to be used as a final forfeiture and the money is going to be used for development?
That's why the one-time EFCC chairperson, Mrs. I forgot Farida Waziri, kept emphasizing, give us special courts. Give us special courts to try people of corruption. Because if you take them to regular courts, like you say, these cases will last forever. But we need to dispose of these cases as they come. This is huge amounts of money we are talking about that can affect the lives of Nigerians. For example, where she comes from Bayelsa State, you go and majority of the people are living in abject poverty. And we are talking about this colossal amount of money, and assets. Being amassed by one single individual in how many years? Just less than 10 years. She was a minister from 2007 to 2015, and she has amassed so much. So we need to give special courts, special anti-corruption courts. We need to have them so that these cases could be disposed of immediately, and then we use the money. We use the monies for other important developmental projects.
What about what Chief Justice Onogen is saying, that even if you have special courts, if all of the other problems in our judicial system are not fixed,
as you are trying to fix other problems in the judicial system, you also have the special courts. Because if you wait until we resolve the problems we have in the judiciary, then it means we are not going to have any headway.
Stanley, I don't believe in the case of special courts. Well, let us have more judges. Appoint more judges. Have more courtrooms.
Yeah.
The judges are overwhelmed.
Why are we shying away from having special courts? Why do we have
with the same number of judges that we have?
Why do we need special courts?
Well, why don't we need it?
You see, we don't need special courts because if we have more judges, because that is one, they lack manpower. That is the basic problem.
Yeah.
So if we have more of them, I mean, the cases can easily be dispensed in courts.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking about special courts. Tomorrow, another group will come and say, yes, for this, we need special courts. Special courts for armed robbery, special courts for all sorts of
There was an article that was written several years ago by Nuhu Ribadu, EFCC chairman at the time, pioneer chairman of the EFCC, where he outlined some of the problems that the Anti-Corruption Commission was having. And he says, right from the point of investigation, when some of the people who are supposed to provide the information are probably compromised. And then he talks about the competence of the people who are actually doing the investigation, that those who are prosecuting may not have those competences and all of that. And recently we have seen court cases, high-profile court cases, fall flat on their faces. I think it was stunning for all the allegations that were brought before the President of the Senate by the Code of Conduct Tribunal or the Code of Conduct Bureau. They couldn't make anything stick. So should the focus be get the money back and use it for development? Should there be would this be a valid argument for the corruption amnesty bill?
Well, first of all, you must do your due diligence and accurate investigation before you think about even getting back the money. As it is today, it is still allegation.
In the case of the former minister, these are monies that have been recovered.
Well, if it is recovered, the court must make a judicial pronouncement.
Yeah, and the courts
on
have, according to this article, these are monies that the courts have ordered final forfeiture.
Well, if it is for Nigeria. So why can't it be spent?
And say, go and sin no more to the offender.
Well, it depends. If we decide, it's a Nigerian thing, we can decide, yes, let's give them amnesty. We can.
Philip,
yes.
what do you feel about that?
What kind of amnesty are we talking about? You know, if you were arguing about
amnesty is not the absence of.
You were arguing about the issue of special courts, and now you are proposing that we should give them amnesty. So, if you do that, then we will continue giving amnesty in every aspect of our lives.
Amnesty does not mean that you are not guilty.
Yeah. I know.
It does not.
I know. What you are saying is that somebody who has been caught, who has been pronounced guilty.
This idea being proposed is 30% would go back to the federal government. 30% would be invested in the real sector.
We should not encourage corruption.
We'll
be encouraging corruption by doing that, because people will know that I can as well go and steal as much as I can, and then at the end of the day, even if I'm caught, I'm pronounced guilty, I could be granted amnesty. So we don't need that. What the government should do, like the CJN is talking about, we should strengthen the judiciary. You talked about investigation. Yeah, let's also strengthen our investigative processes, so that by the time we go to court, we know that we have enough evidence to nail them. And then we recover these monies and put them in the nation's coffers, for proper development. So we shouldn't think about amnesty at all. We shouldn't think about that. We'll be encouraging corruption. And what Nigerians see? If we give them 1 mile, they will take 5 miles. So we don't need that.
Sonny, you have a different view to this.
Well, somehow I am saying that in the interim, from what we have been going through now, we are losing the funds. We are losing the money that we need for development. If for anybody who could say, yes, I have this, yes, it doesn't mean that he cannot be punished. Amnesty does not mean that you cannot be punished. There is a sentence for it, and that stigma that you have been sentenced it goes through your generations in the country. So that is what we are trying to say.
So according to you, there should be an admission of guilt.
Yes, of course,
on the part of the corrupt suspect.
Yes, I said there is always a sentence, even for somebody who says yes, they have it all over the world. Issues of amnesty, yes, but the person, you admit guilt, that you are guilty, you are sentenced, the money collected from you, and then maybe 1 year, 2 years, and you go.
We'll have to leave that there and move on to this day. INEC seeks more powers to reject candidates. That's quite interesting.
Very, yeah.
What does that story say?
Well, it says following multiple lawsuits arising from the failure of political parties to abide by their internal guidelines on primaries, Independent National Electoral Commission is seeking additional powers to play more decisive roles in the selection of candidates for the general elections. Now, the electoral body, in a position letter submitted to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, a copy of which was obtained by This Day newspaper, said it became imperative for the INEC electoral empire to have powers to reject any candidate whose emergence failed to comply with the provisions of their party constitution or electoral law. Now, just so you can be refreshed in that one, in the past, the electoral agency was permitted by law to disqualify any candidate, but following some widespread abuse of powers by the electoral empire, whose leadership became a willing tool of the ruling political party to manipulate the electoral space, the National Assembly stripped it of its power and vested it in the court, prescribing that only the High Court could disqualify a candidate.
Okay, well, that is very instructive, the last paragraph you just took there, Cleo, because, Philip, this problem has not been addressed. So why is INEC seeking those powers?
Well, you think INEC had in the past abused these powers?
Precisely.
And I think the best way is to leave it in the hands of the courts. Let's allow the courts to do their job. INEC should be concerned with conducting free and credible elections. They should leave the issue of candidates to political parties and the court. So if the political parties are not able to do their jobs, the courts will be there to arbitrate. So let's leave this issue for now. INEC should please hands off the issue of candidates. Let us leave it for the courts.
What is the INEC? Is it not an umpire? So you want to constitute yourself now into a court?
Amazing.
You have political parties. If they don't conduct it well, let the candidates that are aggrieved go to court. Let them seek redress in the law courts, rather than saying that you want additional powers to disqualify candidates. That is not their job. Theirs is to conduct election.
All right. Well, very interesting there. Well, at least both of you are agreed on
one thing.
One thing.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we'll take a break right now, but when we come back, we'll look at this story. Northern governors donate 360 million naira to Borno, and that's according to the leadership.
Yes.
Don't go away.